If you've applied for a job recently, you know the feeling, right? You spend hours making your resume perfect, you send it out, and then nothing. Just silence. It's like it vanished into a black hole. Well, I'm here to tell you you're not alone, and you're definitely not imagining it. Let's dig in and figure out why finding work right now feels so impossible. So here's our game plan. We're going to start by talking about that shared feeling of frustration. Then we'll look at the big economic forces that are creating headwinds for everyone. After that, we'll explore a historical trend that's been building for decades, and then we'll meet the real gatekeeper of today's job market, AI. We'll see how that's kicked off a bizarre arms race, and finally, we'll look ahead to what might be coming next. All right, first things first. That feeling of sending your application into the void, it is a very, very real and very shared experience. I mean, this is the million-dollar question, isn't it? We've got all this amazing technology, endless job boards. It feels like it should be easier. But for so many of us, from brand new grads to seasoned professionals, it's just become more confusing and way more stressful than it's ever been. This comment from a job seeker over on Reddit it hits the nail on the head. You can have all the right skills, all the experience in the world, and it still feels like you're just buying a lottery ticket and crossing your fingers. That element of pure chance is what's so maddening. And this person, wow, they brilliantly lay out how absurd the whole situation is. We're all caught in this weird automated loop. Job seekers are using AI to write their resumes to get past the applicant tracking systems, the ATS, which are themselves reading job descriptions that were probably also written by AI. It's become a machine-to-machine conversation, and a lot of the best human candidates are getting lost in the shuffle. Okay, so let's zoom out a little from that personal frustration and look at the bigger picture. Because beyond the tech, there are some pretty powerful economic forces at play that are making the whole job market feel a lot tighter. So, a recent analysis from JP Morgan shows the U.S. labor market is, well, cooling off. Job growth has slowed way down, and businesses are kind of hesitant to hire because of all the economic uncertainty. But the most telling stat here is the quits rate. That's the number of people who are voluntarily leaving their jobs. It's actually lower than it was before the pandemic, which tells you that workers are nervous. They're worried they won't find something better if they jump ship. And this number really drives the point home. The forecast is for unemployment to hit a peak of 4.5% in early 2026. Now, that's not a full-blown recession or anything, but it represents a real slowdown that just about everyone looking for a job is feeling. But the economy is only one piece of the puzzle. There's a much deeper, historical trend that's been building for a long, long time, and it has everything to do with the value of that degree you worked so hard for. The official term for it is credential inflation, and it's actually pretty simple. The more people who get college degrees, the less valuable each individual degree becomes. It's like printing more money. Each dollar is worth a little bit less. So in the job market, you now have this huge supply of highly educated people, all competing for a pretty limited number of jobs that actually need that education. Here is a perfect real-world example of this in action. Back in the late 80s, if you wanted to be a physical therapist, you needed a bachelor's degree. Simple enough. By the 90s, that had crept up to a master's. And today, the standard is a doctorate. The job itself hasn't radically changed, but the piece of paper you need to get in the door has inflated like crazy. And this creates a huge disconnect. I mean, check this out. One study found that 2/3 of job postings for executive assistants were asking for a bachelor's degree, but only about 19% of the people who were actually doing the job successfully had one. The takeaway is pretty clear. Employers are often just using a degree as an easy way to filter people out, even if it has nothing to do with the actual skills needed for the job. So you've got a tough economy and inflated degrees, which creates this massive flood of applicants for every single opening. How do employers even start to sort through it all? Well, they bring in the main character of our little job search drama, the applicant tracking system, the AI gatekeeper. Get ready for this statistic because it is absolutely staggering. According to research from Mavenside Consulting, 3 out of every 4 resumes, 75%, are rejected by an algorithm before a human being ever even sees them. Just think about that for a second. The front door isn't just guarded, it's automated. So how does this whole thing work? Well, it's basically a 3-step process. First, the system parses your resume. That just means it scans it and turns it into a bunch of data points. Then it matches your data against the job description, looking for specific keywords and skills. And finally, it ranks you against every other person who applied. If your score isn't high enough, you're out, and a recruiter might never even know you existed. Now here's where it gets really fascinating. This slide shows what I like to call the corporate AI paradox. A report from Avature found that almost 90% of companies are planning to spend more money on AI. But at the same time, only about 11% have actually baked it into their core HR functions. There's a huge gap between what they're buying and what they're actually using. And here is the reason why. That same report found that a whopping 98% of HR leaders do not fully trust AI to make hiring decisions without a human keeping an eye on it. So you've got companies pouring millions into a technology that their own people don't actually trust to do its most important job. It's wild. This lack of trust, combined with the rise of all these AI tools, has led us to a pretty ridiculous place. A full-blown technological arms race between the people looking for jobs and the companies trying to hire them. See, candidates are fighting back. They're learning how to feed the algorithm exactly what it wants to see. Instead of just listing skills like in the before example, they're using methods like STAR, which stands for Situation, Task, Action, Result, to wrap those keywords in powerful, data-driven stories of achievement. And honestly, the after version isn't just better for an AI, it's 1,000 times more impressive to a human too. But here's the catch-22. As one Reddit user pointed out, when everybody starts using AI to generate a perfect resume, recruiters get suspicious. They start seeing resumes with a 95% or 100% keyword match and just assume it's AI-generated fluff. So now we're stuck in this bizarre feedback loop where nothing feels real and the whole system is just about one AI trying to trick another AI. Okay, so after all that doom and gloom, is there any light at the end of the tunnel? Let's take a look at what might be on the horizon. Well, that same J.P. Morgan report that laid out all the challenges also points to some reasons for cautious optimism heading into late 2026. The thinking is that a few key things could help steady the ship. Stable trade policies could make businesses less nervous about hiring. Tax benefits could give people more money to spend. And expected cuts to interest rates could make it cheaper for companies to grow and hire. Now, it's not a sure thing by any means, but it is a potential path to a healthier market. And all of this brings us to the final and I think most important question. We're all learning how to optimize our resumes for machines and navigate this automated world. But as we move forward, we have to ask ourselves, in a job market that's dominated by algorithms, how do we prove our uniquely human value? What does it really mean to be a great candidate when your first interview might just be with a machine? That is the real challenge for all of us in the years ahead.